Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with the nation. Full honors for heroes of struggle on Democracy Day. LNG, Venture Global criticizes Shell, puts LNG in perspective. I think that's really the only two stories, aside from the stories inside the papers. Okay, let's take, go ahead. Who has a major headline?
Okay, I can't find it immediately.
Okay, let me read mine then. So Mrs. Tino Abiola is the widow of Chief MK Abiola. And yesterday, while she was responding to questions from reporters at the commemoration of our 25 years of unbroken democracy in Nigeria and July, the day that we celebrated Democracy Day, she said that, she's happy because, of what we're celebrating, what the day commemorates. But then she also said that, she was charging the National Assembly that they should enact a law to make it, to prohibit military intervention in Nigerian politics. She says, that look at Burkina Faso, Niger, Guinea-Bissau, and all these countries, look at what's happening there. Yes, even though we have, done well so far, this is still something that could likely happen because we don't have a law that would prohibit it. But she also commended the military for not interfering in these many years of our democracy. And then she hopes that the National Assembly would do this, as an addition to what we're celebrating, or what we're celebrating yesterday.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I took the story of inside of the family of the founder of the Udua People's Congress, Dr. Frederick Fashion, protested his omission in the list of the heroes contained in the president's speech yesterday. They said he helped the president and many of them leave the country, and he was arrested and detained for many, many months. So they felt slighted. His detention led to the impairment of his sight. And so they felt really bad that he wasn't. And also, Mossop were protesting that Ken Saro-Wiwa too was not mentioned because apparently, according to them, he fought, it was his sacrifice. He paid the ultimate price for this June 12. So,
You want to start talking about whose names are not there? We have plenty names that were not there.
But
let us just
talk about the ones he mentioned. So full honors were given to heroes of the struggle for democracy, and it was our 25th year of it. And the president had a full event where he had dinner with them, and he mentioned names of those he said he honored those who were pro-democracy democracy activists who kept the fire burning while their compatriots back home also kept the fire burning. He mentioned some names: Chief Anthony Enahoro, Chief Abraham Adesonya, Commodore Dan Suleiman, Chief Arthur Nwako, Chief Chukwuemeka Ezefe, Admiral Ndubisi Kano, Chief Frank Kokori, Chief Bola Ige, Chief Adekunle Ajasin, Chief Ganiu Daudu, Chief Ayo Fasomi, Chief Gani Fawemi, Chief Olabi Durojaye, Dr. Bekora Somkuti, Chima Ubani, and others. And then he went on to particularly recognize the sacrifices of General Alani Akinrinade, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Professor Wole Soyinka, Chief Ralph Obeoha, and Chief Cornelius Adebayo. And he said that for at least 6 years, they bore the pains and difficulties of life in exile, while we had a place to call it home today. He said while they were on exile, pro-democracy activists at home kept the fire burning, and they sustained the pressure on the military that brought democracy to bear. And also, he talked about some...
Did you mention your father?
No, I want to use my own platform to also say my own. So I don't have to finish. So I use my own to violence.
Dr. Isaac Bakoba, Femi Falana, Abdul Oro, Senator Shehu Sani, Chief Uba Sani, Chief Olufalaye, and all the NADECO members, such as Chief Ayadebanjo and I.
So because I have this platform, I will use my platform to say that my father, Alawa Kabashorun, was not mentioned because before the Gani Fawemis and the Femi Falanas got into the picture, these were people that were on exile. These are people who fought Babangida to the standstill during that time. So my father wasn't mentioned, but it's okay. I'm not angry. But now that we're all talking about whose name was not mentioned, my father's name was also missing from the list of those who actually fought for Nigeria's democracy, and he deserved some kind of recognition, but unfortunately he died. So hey, Is that Ikuba and Koje? But it's all good. Moving on now to the punch. Minimum wage. Federal government warns of mass sacking as labor disowns agreement. Sexual harassment. Head of service suspects PermSec orders probe. Ondo man nabbed with 8 skulls human parts. Motorists groan as Ogunram market causes gridlock in Lagos Ibadan Expressway. FG World Bank begins talks on 90,000-kilometer fiber optic cable project. Hashtag end hunger protesters seek end to economic hardship. Governors demand refund from $10 billion NIPP investments. And FG threatens to punish schools shunning safety guidelines. Okay, which story are we starting with?
So the sexual harassment story at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs against the Permanent Secretary.
That's such an interesting story.
Very interesting.
Ambassador Ibrahim Lamuwa has been suspended by the Office of the Head of Service, by the Head of Service herself, Folashade Yemi-Esan, and the Permanent Sec is suspended pending the outcome of a probe into that allegation against him by female staff members of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who have different accounts of how they've been sexually abused by him or assaulted by him. And one of them had petitioned through her lawyer, Femi Falana, Simisola Ajayi. She had accused him directly and gave vivid explanation of how he was sexually harassed. I've been on the story, but I'm grateful that, the services should have stepped aside anyway since.
I saw one headline where he was saying something that she was out to get him. I'm really looking forward to this
Not
story.
alone, all the women.
Anyways, I have the story here. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Bodun Tijani, on Tuesday had disclosed, government's plan for, sorry, let me say it from here. So, first of all, the federal government had approved a special purpose vehicle to support the delivery of an additional 90,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable, and it has begun talks with World Bank. So our minister had been in talks with World Bank just before they went for what they call Nigerian Week in Washington. He engaged representatives of the World Bank in a virtual meeting last week to discuss priority areas on digital trade for Nigeria, preliminary findings, and insights from the digital trade policy gap analysis. He also talked about this project. He says Nigeria's fiber optic cable capacity, they're moving from 35 kilometers to 125,000 kilometers to make it the third largest after South Africa and Egypt. He's also advocating that broadband must be treated as a matter of urgency for Nigeria to advance in digital economy. We know that he has been actively engaged with various stakeholders over the past 6 months concerning this project. As we know, beyond just being the minister, this is something that we know that he had been advocating, they say, even while as a private citizen. So.
Okay, let me just take Peter Obi. So Peter Obi, the former Anambra State governor and the candidate of the Labour Party, tweeted concerning the Democracy Day celebrations. He's tweeted on his assessment on 25 years unbroken democracy. He said that the country should be returned to a truly democratic nation. Obi stated this on Twitter. He said, while we may say that in 1999 we started an earnest, the right direction, today we have deteriorated into what can be classified as classical state capture. Instead of benefiting at all, it's becoming a deprivation to all. So as our dear nation marks Democracy Day today, commemorating 25 years of striving to be a democratic country, the fundamental question for all of us to ask is, are we truly democratic? Very.
So I wanted to take the motorists blocking.
I have to take a break, Waiki. I'm so sorry. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, we continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.